Hello guys, in today's tutorial you'll be learning how to cut and sew a petal sleeve. It is very simple. So first of all, what you want to do is fold your pattern paper into two. You don't need to cut out this style of sleeve with just one piece of pattern paper. You need to fold your pattern paper into two as if you are cutting on fabric. Now here is the top of my pattern. From the top of my pattern, I'm going to come down by 2 inches. That is what I want. You can actually come down by 3 inches, 4 inches, depending on what you want to achieve. Now this is because we are going to have a puff on this sleeve. Okay, so this 2 inches is going to be serving as the pleating allowance. Now, after this, mark it into a horizontal line, and on this 2 inches mark, place your tape and then mark down to the length of the sleeve. Now, the length of my sleeve, I'm going to use 11 inches plus 1 inch for hemming allowance. You can actually go down more than this, or you can actually come up more than this, okay? So I connected into a horizontal line, and the next thing I want to do is divide my bust circumference by 12 plus 0.5 inches for my cap height. So I have right there with me 4 inches. So I marked it down, and I'm going to have to place in my armhole divided by 2. Okay, my round armhole is 20, divided by 2 is 10. I marked it out and then connected it to the top of my sleeve just like this. Now, after this, next thing I want to do is from the folded part of my paper, I'm going to come in by 2 inches, and then I'm going to have to divide this into 2 and mark the middle. Now, what I'm going to do next is connect all these points together so that I'll be able to have my armhole curve. Can you see what I'm doing? You can see. Now, after this, what I'm going to do next is go down to the hem of my sleeve, which is the length of my sleeve. Now, remember this is 11 inches, which is to the elbow length. Now, my round elbow is just 14 inches, but I'm going to use 9 inches because I want it wider than my round elbow measurement, okay? So I marked it out plus 1 inch for sewing allowance. Now, after that, go ahead and measure to ensure that you have what you needed for the round armhole. And then from the top of this paper, I'm still going to come in by 2 inches, which is for the pleating of my puff. And then connect it back to the armhole curve just like this. And then you guys, you can see how pointy our sleeve is looking already. This is to tell you that this sleeve is going to have a puff, okay? Now I'm going to go ahead and cut out my pattern. As you can see what I'm doing. Now after cutting out the pattern, go ahead and bring in your fabric so that you cut it out on your fabric. But first of all, let's cut out the pattern. Okay, as you can see, I am done cutting it out. So next thing I want to do is open it up. You can see what we have. You can see how pointy the sleeve is looking. So fold it again and notch the center. Open it up again, and from the center I'll take down to 5 inches. Now this 5 inches is how you want it to overlap. Okay, so if you want, you can actually make use of 6 inches. It depends on what you want. Now, after that, I'm going to, from the hem of my sleeve, still on the middle part, come up by 3 inches. Now, what I'm going to do first is remove my hemming allowance of 1 inch. And after that, from this hemming allowance, I'm going to come up by 2 inches. Now, after this, you can see I have 3 inches right there, and by the side, I'm going to remove my sewing allowance and then connect all these 3 points together. Okay, so I'm going to freehand it. I'm just going to freehand. So from these 5 inches to the 3 inches and then to the side seam. I see. So now once I'm done with this, I'm going to cut it off. And then now from here, the next thing you want to do is bring in your fabric. So I'm going to bring in my fabric, which I'm going to use for this particular sleeve, okay, which I showed you earlier in the beginning. So I'll fold my fabric into two. Now after folding into two, I'll go ahead and cut it out, okay. Remember to place your fabric the right side facing each other. Now I'm placing your pattern and pin it up with your pins, okay, so that when you are cutting it out, it won't have any room to shift. So once I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. Okay, now remember we've added all our seam allowances, so there is no need of adding any extra seam allowance. Just cut out exactly as you have on your paper, as you can see me doing like this. Okay, now I'm done cutting it out. The next thing I'm going to do is make sure that I notch the center of my sleeve. Okay, so notch the center, remove your pins, and then remove your patterns. Now after removing my pattern, I'm going to as well cut out the lining for this because I need a lining for this. So exactly what I have on the actual fabric, I'm going to cut it out on the lining piece. Okay, so go ahead and cut yours. Now you can see I'm done cutting out the lining. Please do not forget to also notch to indicate the center as well. And after that, ensure to use your chalk to mark the right side and the wrong side of the lining piece. And then you're going to use this fusible interface to make it firmer. Okay, so I'm going to add it up on both the actual fabric and the lining piece. Okay, so you can see I am done adding this up. Now you can see what we have. So I went ahead to add it up on both the lining and the actual fabric. Now the next thing I want to do is join this separately. So I'm going to be joining my lining separately and then the actual fabric separately. Okay, this is because we want to attain neat finishing. So I have joined the lining and the actual fabric separately, and you can see this is what the back looks like. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is turn it over to the right side. Okay, so this is the actual fabric and the other lining piece. I'll place it on top, making sure that the right sides are facing each other. Now, what I'm going to do is go join the damper, just the dampers, okay? Sew it with 1/2 inch and then come over here for the next step. So guys, now you can see I am done joining it. I've equally gone ahead to top stitch. Can you see? So the next thing I'm going to do now is go ahead and turn this over to the right side. Now after turning over to the right side, I'll go give it a good press. Make sure you give it a good press. Okay, so you can see I'm trying to make it stay properly well, and then I'll go give it a good press. Okay, so at this point I've already given it a good press, and this is what the sleeve looks like. So now I'm going to go ahead and top stitch on top, just like I'm showing you right now. And then after top stitching, I'm now going to show you exactly the next step to take. So guys, after top stitching, I noticed there is some seam allowances, like some lining piece coming out. So I'm trying to trim it off. Now after trimming it, I'll now show you guys how to place in your sleeve and then fix into your garment. Okay, so I am done trimming it. Now remember to notch the centers. Okay, so you can see I'm trying to notch it again, and you guys, I'm going to have to place in my sleeve just like this. And when you place in your sleeve, ensure that the centers meet each other. Okay, they stay in one place, and then go ahead and top stitch. Now after top stitching, this is what we have, and I'll go ahead and plait it just like this. And yeah, that is exactly how to achieve your petal sleeve. It is very simple, you guys. You can see what we have right here. So if you fix it on the armhole of your garment, ensure that you pleat it just like this. And after pleating, please, you want to measure it to ensure that you have that same 10 inches or whatever it is that you have as your round armhole. So guys, this is the end of this tutorial. I hope you have been able to learn how to sew a petal sleeve. It is very simple. I will see you guys in my next tutorial. Bye.